America chooses. A look at our elections. The United States has a complex system for choosing its leaders. We don't just have one election, we have thousands. From the president to city council members, we vote for them all. This system can be confusing, but understanding it is crucial. It's how our democracy works. Our elections happen on a regular schedule. We have presidential elections every 4 years. Congressional elections occur every 2 years. State and local elections vary. Some happen alongside national elections, others are held on different years. These elections aren't just about picking winners. They're about something bigger. They're about citizens having a say in their government. It's about holding our leaders accountable, and it's about shaping the future of our country. So buckle up. We're about to dive deep into the American electoral system. We'll break it down step by step. By the end, you'll be an informed voter, and you'll be ready to participate in our democracy. Let's start at the top with the presidential election. This one gets a lot of attention, and for good reason. The president is a powerful figure. But here's the twist. We don't directly elect the president. We use something called the Electoral College.
Each state gets a certain number of electors. This number is based on the state's population. The more people a state has, the more electors it gets. To win the presidency, a candidate needs a majority of the electoral votes.
Here's how it works on Election Day. When you vote, you're actually voting for a slate of electors. These electors are pledged to a specific candidate. The candidate who wins the popular vote in a state usually gets all of that state's electoral votes. This system has its critics. Sometimes, a candidate can win the popular vote, but lose the electoral vote. This happened in 2016. It's a reminder that the Electoral College doesn't always reflect the will of the majority.
The debate over the Electoral College continues. Some argue it's outdated and should be abolished. Others say it protects the interests of smaller states. Whatever your view, understanding the Electoral College is key to understanding American presidential elections.
Before we get to the general election, we need to talk about primaries and caucuses. These are elections within political parties. They determine who will represent each party in the general election. Primaries are like regular elections. Voters go to the polls and cast their ballots. They choose their preferred candidate from a list of contenders. The candidate with the most votes wins the primary. Caucuses are a bit different. They are more interactive. Voters gather in person to discuss the candidates. They try to persuade each other to support their favorite. At the end, they vote by raising hands or dividing into groups. Both primaries and caucuses serve the same purpose. They give voters a voice in choosing their party's nominee. These early contests are important. They shape the field of candidates for the general election. Now, let's move on to Congress. This is the legislative branch of our government. It's made up of 2 chambers, the House of Representatives and the Senate. The House has 435 members. Each member represents a congressional district within their state. The number of representatives a state has is based on its population. House elections happen every 2 years.
The Senate has 100 members. Each state gets 2 senators regardless of population. Senators serve 6-year terms. Senate elections are staggered. About 1/3 of the Senate is up for election every 2 years. Members of Congress are responsible for making laws. They also have the power to declare war, approve treaties, and impeach the president. They play a crucial role in shaping our nation's policies.
Section 5. State and local elections. Closer to home. While national elections get a lot of attention, state and local elections are just as important. These elections determine who governs our states, counties, and cities. State elections typically include races for governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, and other statewide offices. They also include elections for state legislatures. These legislatures make laws that impact our daily lives. Local elections include races for mayor, city council, school board, and other local offices. These officials make decisions about things like schools, roads, and public safety. They have a direct impact on our communities. State and local elections often don't get the same level of attention as national elections, but they are crucial for ensuring that our government works for us at every level.
Section 6. Different ways to vote, first past the post, ranked choice, and runoffs. Now let's talk about different voting methods. The most common method in the US is called first past the post. In this system, the candidate with the most votes wins, even if they don't get a majority. Some places use a system called ranked choice voting. In this system, voters rank the candidates in order of preference. If no candidate gets a majority of first-place votes, the candidate with the fewest votes is eliminated. Their votes are then redistributed to the voters' second choices. This process continues until one candidate has a majority. Another method is a runoff election. If no candidate gets a majority in the initial election, the top two candidates face off in a runoff. This ensures that the winner has the support of more than half of the voters. Each voting method has its pros and cons. The choice of which method to use can have a big impact on election outcomes. Section 7. Ballot initiatives and referenda. Power to the people. In addition to voting for candidates, citizens in some states can also directly vote on laws and policies. This is done through ballot initiatives and referenda. A ballot initiative allows citizens to propose a new law or amendment to the state constitution. If enough citizens sign a petition, the initiative is placed on the ballot for voters to decide. A referendum is similar, but it's initiated by the state legislature. The legislature refers a proposed law or constitutional amendment to the voters for approval. Ballot initiatives and referenda give citizens a direct say in shaping their state's laws. They are a powerful tool for direct democracy. Section 8. Voting rights and registration. Making your voice heard. In the United States, the right to vote is fundamental to our democracy. But there are some requirements you need to meet to be eligible to vote. First, you must be a U.S. citizen. You also need to meet your state's residency requirements, and you must be at least 18 years old. Some states have additional requirements, such as registering to vote by a certain deadline. The process for registering to vote varies by state. You can usually register online, by mail, or in person at designated locations. It's important to register well in advance of an election to make sure you're eligible to vote. The right to vote is precious. It's important to exercise this right and make your voice heard. Section 9. Running the show, election administration, and federal laws. Running elections in a country as large and diverse as the United States is a complex task. It involves a lot of moving parts, and it's crucial that the process is fair and accurate. Elections in the U.S. are primarily run at the state and local levels. Each state has its own laws and procedures, but there are also some federal laws that apply to all elections.
For example, the National Voter Registration Act makes it easier for citizens to register to vote. The Help America Vote Act provides funding for states to improve their voting systems. And the Voting Rights Act protects the right to vote for all citizens, regardless of race or ethnicity.
Election administration is a critical part of our democracy. It ensures that our elections are free, fair, and accessible to all eligible voters. Section 10. Campaign finance, the money trail. Finally, let's talk about campaign finance. Running for office is expensive. Candidates need money to pay for staff, advertising, and travel. The rules governing campaign finance are complex, but the basic idea is to prevent corruption and ensure fairness in elections. The Federal Election Campaign Act, or FECA, is the main federal law that regulates campaign finance.
FECA limits how much individuals and organizations can contribute to candidates. It also requires campaigns to disclose their donors and how they spend their money. The goal is to make the financing of campaigns more transparent. Campaign finance is a controversial issue. Some argue that the current system gives too much influence to wealthy donors. Others say that limiting campaign contributions violates the First Amendment right to free speech. The debate over campaign finance is ongoing, but understanding the basics is important for being an informed citizen.